Since Hillary Clinton officially clinched the Democratic presidential nomination and claiming to have the most progressive platform in the party's history with the push of Bernie Sanders, Dr. Jill Stein has come out of the woodwork slamming Hillary Clinton by saying she is bought off and won't help the middle class at all. But after giving Jill Stein many hours of my time listening to various interviews and reading transcripts, it is totally 100% clear to me that she is not fit to lead the United States. Welcome back to a brand new video, everyone. It's been a while indeed. It's Policies here. Now this video is going to focus on Jill Stein's foreign policy ideas and how they'd actually be implemented and impact the world, our allies, and of course the global economy and US economy. Jill Stein's domestic policies such as wiping out student debt and becoming a 100% renewable energy based economy are for a different video, and we'll focus that in the next video. Now let's look at the first thing regarding her foreign policy. Jill Stein has said that she will close more than 700 US foreign military bases, many of them coming from Europe, Japan, and the Middle East, and cancel military weapon programs such as the F-35 fighter, a new strategic bomber, and the development of new nuclear weapons to save more than $2 trillion over a decade. Let's check out what she has to say.
And finally, we're calling for downsizing the military, right-sizing the military. Let's go back to year 2000 levels. It was half the size that it is now, but did we get twice as secure for doubling the military? I don't think so. If anything, it's a liability, and we're seeing huge blowback right now all over the Middle East in the protests at U.S. embassies, in the in the unrest in Libya and against the embassy in Libya. We're seeing Afghani soldiers shooting American soldiers, which is actually preventing the transition, supposedly, of this war effort to the Afghanis. It's just not happening because they're not happy with us, and to say the least. And it's no surprise when people drop bombs on weddings and funerals. It's not a good way to win the hearts and minds of people. The drone war, in fact, has been the best weapon that the Taliban and Al-Qaeda could have wished for, because it's a wonderful recruiting agent for the opposition to the United States. And in Pakistan, recent polls showed that about 75% of people identify the U.S. as the major enemy of the Pakistani people. So it is a good thing to cut back our defense budget so it's no longer used as an offense budget.
Now, I'll be real with you. I agree with a lot of what she said. The drones had major mistakes and have killed innocent people and children, for sure. And at the same time, these wars are expensive. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And there are some military bases in some areas within the military that we could totally cut. But should we really cut all of them? Every single base across the world. This is where Jill Stein gets out of line and gets into fairyland, as the Washington Post and New York Times have called her. Let's just imagine if the US pulled out of South Korea, Japan, Europe, and the Middle East. We would see the current peaceful world crumble under our eyes, and the US economy, along with Europe, would be at significant risk. NATO would be gone overnight, and other governments would step in to fill the void of power. Japan and Southeast Asia would quickly begin building nuclear weapons and significantly increase their military spending to counter China. And it's possible that one of them would clash with China, and with the US nowhere in sight, war would occur in the Pacific between Southeast Asia, China, and Japan and South Korea. World War III could possibly break out if we left one of our closest allies in Asia Pacific, Taiwan. One of the main reasons China has not invaded Taiwan is because it's taken back by the US constantly providing Taiwan with weapons, military advice, and support. Completely pulling out of the Asia Pacific would give China the opportunity to claim land that it truly thinks it owns. Germany and Europe would triple or quadruple their military spending to counter more aggressive Russia. Putin may begin taking more risky and daring bets, knowing that the US is completely pulled out of the region, possibly invading other countries in Eastern Europe. Economies may crash around the world as international shipping lanes would be open to being owned by new governments, as US aircraft carriers have always been a deterrent to bad governments preventing trade across the world. The Middle East would fall deeper into pandemonium because nobody would be promising the safety of stable and safe governments. Nobody would be promising the safety of stable and safe democracies of the Middle East. Iran would perform power grabs anywhere they possibly could, and there'd be no repercussions at all from the US as they are far overseas across the oceans. And it's possible that Russia would join Iran to also gain land and oil within the region. Jill Stein, it really appears, does not understand how geopolitics works or the harsh and nasty realities of countries going to war and how politics works and international relations works overseas. Now let's just go ahead and take a look at how Jill Stein would combat ISIS.
On another aspect of your plan, and that's the foreign policy aspect. You call for cutting Pentagon spending in half. You would like to eliminate, you say you would like to eliminate, although you have a caveat there, you may not be able to, all military bases, U.S. military bases around the world. Question, how would you fight ISIS?
Very good point. We would not continue to do the same thing that has failed catastrophically since 9/11, since the trade towers came down. Because what have we done with this $6 trillion, mind you, for just Iraq and Afghanistan alone, which, by the way, costs every American household $50,000 for those two wars alone? What have we done with this policy of regime change, this war on terror?
Okay, but how would you fight ISIS?
Failed states, mass refugee. I'll tell you in one sec. Failed states, mass refugee migrations, and worse terrorist threats, which is the point. It's not getting better. Every terrorist cause we've been fighting has only been increased and gotten stronger by dropping bombs and shooting them up with bullets. We need a weapons embargo to the Middle East, since we are supplying the majority of weapons which get out to all sides. We call for a weapons embargo, and we call for a freeze on the funding, including our allies. Hillary Clinton identified the Saudis as still the major funder of
what are you going
Sunni
to do
jihad terror
about
around
ISIS
the world.
and the people in Iraq and Syria who have also now developed plans? They have struck in the United States, they've struck in France, they've struck in Belgium and a number of other places. How are you going to protect us from them?
So one thing we have to do is not keep doing what we've been doing, which has only made them stronger. Each terrorist threat has gotten worse. We created ISIS out of the chaos of Iraq. So let's not keep doing a proven
I understand what you say we shouldn't do. What should we do?
That's why we're calling, yes. What we should do is deprive them of weapons, deprive them of funding, freeze the bank accounts of our allies that continue to fund these terrorist enterprises, and close the border from Turkey so that the militias cannot cross over into Iraq and into Syria. We created this problem by funding it, by arming it, we and our allies. Remember, this goes back to Afghanistan, where we created this in order to fight the Russians and the Soviet Union by beefing up the Mujahideen and creating this international terrorist enterprise.
I think a lot of people are going to question. We have to move on.
Okay, so Stein said she won't do the same thing as the Obama administration, and she won't do the same thing as the Bush administration. She said none of that stuff works. But she didn't give a plan. She didn't say how she's going to solve it. All Stein said is that we spend too much money on wars, and we need to put a weapons embargo on the Middle East and freeze funding to our allies. That isn't going to wipe out ISIS at all. Depriving ISIS of weapons won't solve the problem because they already have weapons. They have lots of weapons, and they're moving rapidly throughout Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. She doesn't have any idea on how to take down ISIS, and I don't even think she really knows the capabilities of ISIS and how strong they are right now. In fact, if ISIS knew that we were stopping bombing them, it would empower them and embolden them to take deeper risk and attack even more in that region and claim more land. Although I think Jill Stein has some domestic policy ideas, as I said will be in a different video, if she actually implemented her foreign policy ideas, pulling out of various wars, cutting our bases across the world would end up in chaos. She would allow countries like Russia, Iran, and China to begin grabbing power across the world to fill the US fully. War would break out across regions in Asia and Europe that would be unprecedented in history. We cannot put Jill Stein in office. We cannot vote for her. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, two highly unpopular candidates, have both better foreign policy ideas than Jill Stein. Let's make sure we keep Stein out, mainly because of her terrible or horrific and highly dangerous and reckless foreign policy ideas. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative, educational, and probably gave you some new ideas to think about. Please subscribe below and give me a like if you enjoyed it. If not, go ahead and give it a dislike. And I hope to see you guys again in the next video, and I hope you all have a safe, good, and happy day.